Well, happy Monday, everybody. We are back. I am the pasty person, and you may be wondering who this bright red lobster in the box right next to me is, right over here. That's Teetz. Teetz is on his first of like 6 vacations back to back to back. That must be nice. So what's up, Teetz? Where you at this week?
Well, I am in Hilton Head for the week. Not Disney related. There is a Disney resort here, but not there. But I'm just enjoying some beach life down south.
Yeah, what SPF sunscreen did you put on today to achieve this bright red, unnatural, painful looking color in your face today?
12, SPF 12.
Yeah. That's not even sunscreen. That's like tanning oil. Did it look like oil or was it creamy?
It was a spray. I don't know, just as a can, like a spray can.
R.I.P. you. Oh my gosh! At this rate, you may not make it to Universal Week.
That's true.
So, what's up, gang? We are back. It is another Marvel Monday, and we are officially at the very end. Regardless of how you cut it, either you said it was last week or it's this week, but there's no denying this is the end of Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're going to get to that in just a little bit because we watched Ant-Man this week. And another fun thing to note is from here on out, chronological order is actual studio release order. So we are going to be speeding through these movies. And if you guys are in the chat, say hey. We love to chat with people while we're talking Marvel here. But first, we're just going to do a little catch up. So last week we talked
Age of Ultron, right?
Thank you. I was just gonna, which we said was basically. Oh, we've got some Teetz in the chat. Hi, Teetz. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Tommy. So last week we talked Age of Ultron, which I say is probably the most important movie. It's like a keystone movie of the entire MCU, especially when you watch it chronologically. And I think I kind of pulled Teetz across the finish line to get to that point. And I think when we start talking about Ant-Man, you're going to see a little bit more how everything is kind of falling into place. But first off, let's kick it over to Teetz for this week's Marvel news. So what do you got for us, Teetz?
Well, we didn't have a whole lot, but just a couple things. Obviously, we got Loki episode 2 on Wednesday. It's really starting to get interesting. The one thing I kind of forgot about is this is the shortest series of them all. We're only getting 6 episodes. So we're almost halfway through already. And so it's kind of disappointing considering how well the show is going so far. But we got our second episode, and then that meant that we got our next version of Loki in Avengers Campus out at Disneyland and California Adventure. And so every week they're updating the character look out there to match that week's episode, which I think is really cool. And then they'll add villains or whatever in that kind of correspond to that week's episode as well. And then the only other bit of...
To me, that's like the coolest revelation about Avengers Campus is how they've planned for it. Because again, we talk about this almost every week, that Avengers, Marvel, MCU in general, it's not so much about the story. The story is important, but how all these characters weave together and further the story, it's not so much a plot point in general. It's just the evolution of the characters and how they exist within each other, the conflicts, the personalities, the interspatial relationships, everything. And it is so cool every week. I'm not watching Loki yet because I'm waiting until all 6 episodes are out. That's a lie. I think I'm going to watch all of them Monday and Tuesday before the final one comes out because I'm just so excited about this one. But to see how now they are able to adapt every week, I am so excited every morning to see what the newest Avengers Campus Loki character looks like. And I hope this is something that they're able to keep doing going forward, not only just with the shows, but also we've got 2 movies coming out within the next 60 days. So I hope we're going to be able to see those. I mean, Black Widow, we already know, but I hope we're going to be able to see more of this because it's really exciting. And another exciting debut happened 24 hours ago, but this is over at Disneyland Paris. What happened over in Disneyland Paris?
Yeah, so the Hotel New York out there has been undergoing a massive renovation to become Hotel New York, the Art of Marvel at Disneyland Paris. And so that finally opened just today or earlier today, technically kind of yesterday because Paris time, but there's all the rooms are kind of modern, contemporary themed with Marvel touches, Marvel artwork. They say like Tony Stark inspired because, Tony is the modern techie guy. And then you have the Manhattan restaurant up on top along with the Skyline bar. There's also a art of Marvel, like learn how to draw Marvel comics kind of studio thing that I think it would be really cool to check out. And some character photo ops and stuff like that.
So the photo ops are kind of what I want to talk about a little bit. They have done something really cool in the lobby of the Marvel Hotel where they have set up little vignettes that you can basically go and have photo pass or have your picture taken in different very iconic scenes from the MCU. There's this pair of Iron Man's boots that you can stand behind and make the Iron Man pose. There is the staircase where Doctor Strange does the things. Also, this is an in-game, spoiler alert, the big fire ring that pretty much every important Avenger that disappeared comes back into at in-game. There's a total of 6 or 8 of these different vignettes, and it is so incredibly cool. And it's something that I was thinking as you were describing these rooms, how they were just updated and modernized. It made me think, do you think we can see this applied in Orlando at maybe the Contemporary Resort? Since they're retheming some of the Contemporary rooms to be Incredibles, they can incorporate some of these Municipal kind of photo opportunities in like that expansive area they have on the concourse.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm interested to see how far they go with the Contemporary. We obviously know Incredibles is coming there. We've heard that the Wave might get an Incredibles update there. Marvel overall, we can't do too much with Marvel at Walt Disney World, but be interested. It seems they're really taking the IP to the hotels in many different ways, and I think the Disneyland Paris one may be the kind of the best one yet. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, and I wasn't talking specifically about Marvel coming to the Contemporary, just those really cool photo setups, the vignette setups, just to even take just that in execution, but apply it to some of the different IPs that they're shoehorning into some of these resorts to make it having a special kind of extra add-on just for resort guests. You can go take your picture in some of these vignettes. You could do Moana at the Poly. You can do Incredibles at Contemporary. You can do whatever boring Grammy-ass thing they shoehorn into Grand Floridian. I guess it's going to be Beauty and the Beast, isn't it?
That makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Anything to update that place.
Oh my gosh. We were talking about it today. We had a running joke, listen, travel agents, we do have senses of humor. We can try and find jokes and everything. And we do like to present ourselves as a great source of knowledge for you. And sometimes we interact with newbie travel agents who maybe haven't been to Disney. If you guys have ever taken a Disney survey, one of the last questions is how many times 0 to 99 have you been to Walt Disney World? If it's more than 99, just type in 99. Not every travel agent has been to Disney more than 99 times, like every member of the Crescent Lake Club over our lifetime. So you get some questions that are interesting. One we ran across last week was, what is the value of resort on the monorail? Which I guess would be contemporary if you had to go by pricing, but if you had to go by amenities, it would be Grand Floridian. But yeah, we have a really great sense of humor. I know everyone out there watching us is just dying laughing because this is so funny. If you guys don't already subscribe to us, please hit that red subscribe button on YouTube and that bell notification to make sure you never miss any of my comedic stylings when we go live. The only thing I look forward to streaming is because Teetz thinks everything I say is funny. So at least finally someone is laughing at my jokes. Back to Marvel Hotel. It's little touches. It's just the little things. All the room numbers are red blocks with white numbering on them in the Marvel font, which is they're on like black or slate gray doors. So they really pop, but without being over the top, in your face, like pop century art of animation IP. You get the feel. You feel like you're at a Marvel hotel. So really liking the look of that. If they could just add that Spider-Man robotic, like leaping around the hotel, that place would be amazing.
Well, because Paris is getting an Avengers campus of their own, so we may see it go there.
See, I'm all for that. So, and that's kind of like, again, we've had a little bit of a slow, ever since Avengers Campus opened up, we've had kind of a lull in the Marvel range. I think things are going to start ramping up because we're getting really close to the premiere of Black Widow. We're going to probably start seeing more trailers for that. We've got a Disney announcement for the 50th tomorrow on Good Morning America, and I'm sure there will probably be a Black Widow trailer leading into that announcement. So what time do I have to wake up to watch this thing tomorrow for you? Because you have to take Sydney to breakfast.
Of course, they don't give a time, but if GMA starts at 7 a.m. Eastern time, and if it's anything like last
that begins with
I believe it was
here.
Yeah, I think last time it was at least an hour in, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to have Courtney text me like a emergency alert to turn on the TV. All right, I'll do my best. I'm going to be really disappointed if it's just name tags and a cupcake. But you know what? Here at the Crescent Lake Club, we take one for the team so you don't have to. So, yeah, we've got that announcement coming tomorrow. If by chance, I did tell the group, I'm out of the prognostication game when it comes to these videos now. I'm not going to do it anymore. I get too hyped and I get too excited. I think that too many things are going to be happening. So maybe kind of like when you buy a bunch of ice thinking a tropical storm is going to hit you and then you get nothing. Maybe if I don't make any guesses, we can get a whole lot of 50th anniversary news. So one way or another, y'all will be thanking me in the morning. So it is the first day of summer. Officially today, we've made it to summer. I'm just going to give a shout out to a new product I'm testing for all of you people. You see us drink pretty frequently on stream. I am trying out something that you may see ads for. Check them out. I am using these new, very cool Ball aluminum cups. So it's just like a red Solo cup, but they're aluminum. It's keeping my drink nice and cold, fresh. The best thing is I can just throw it in the recycling bin when I'm done. So shout out to Ball for these cups. If you're watching this on rewatch, I'll put a link down in the description for you to check some out. You can either order on Amazon or they'll be at your local grocery store, and they're around $5 for 10 of them. So it's a good deal. And you're saving the planet, which is something that the Avengers really, really care about, is saving the planet. Right, Teetz?
Yep.
So with that, unless you have any other Marvel news for me.
Nope, I think that is it.
Let's do it. We're ending phase 2, and this week we are talking Ant-Man. And so to give you the long and the short of it, Ant-Man... Oh no, I lost my place. Damn it. It was released in it go?
July 17th, 2015.
There we go. How much did it make?
$519 million. So not all that great, but that's not unexpected for one of the sort of lesser films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Directed by Peyton Reed, who also then will direct the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so if we're ready to go into this.
Yeah, let's do it.
We
we do know that there's going to be 3 installments of Ant-Man. 2 that will exist in the current ideation. So we've got 1 in phase 2, 1 in phase 3, and we will have 1 in phase 4, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which will come out in February of 2023. So
yep.
We're starting to see that basically every important character except the women get multiple movies. So far, my girl Carol only has 1.
Kind of.
And Wanda didn't even get a movie. She just got a TV show.
But this is a duo movie. We get Wasp and 2 of them. I mean, technically 3 if you count this one, but not completely. We get some introduction here, but
she has to undergo a little bit of a character transformation to get to the second one, because we're not entirely sure if she's good or she's bad just yet. Josh, no sequels for women. I know. Okay, well, we know Carol is at least getting 1. Natasha only has 1 movie. It's already after she died, and it came out like 3 years ago. You guys, we're 14 minutes away from spoiler time, but Black Widow, Wanda only gets a TV show. Listen, anyway, continue, Teetz. It's way too early for me to start being ranty about the women of Marvel. Good grief!
Well,
why'd you trigger me like this?
Well, let's finally dive into this one.
Okay.
And we begin in 1989 with our good old friend Howard Stark. And we
So what does that tell you? There's going to be a lot of daddy issues again in this movie too.
Yep.
Every origin story for a male Avenger has to have some daddy issues. And thank you, Ant-Man. You get him right out of the gate.
Yeah, so we start with Howard Stark and Hank Pym, who will be a big part of this film in 1989. And Stark is I don't know, not intrigued, but they work together, Pym and Stark with S.H.I.E.L.D. in those early days. And Hank Pym has developed a formula for what they call the Pym particles, which is a shrinking technology. And of course, Howard Stark wants in on this, and Pym is trying to keep it away from the wrong hands. So then we jump ahead to present day, and we meet a character by the name of Scott Lang, who is in prison serving a sentence for burglary, and at this point is getting ready for his release. He's punched in the face by a fellow prison mate, and so then he is then picked up by his former cellmate in a beat up old van that will play a role, not only in this movie, but in future ones as well. And so he's picked up by his former cellmate, Lewis, and Scott. Then we see Scott working at a Baskin Robbins, because what kind of job can you get after you've been released from prison? Well, you can't even get one at Baskin Robbins, because he is then fired. So then he's fired from Baskin Robbins after lying about his prison time because he couldn't get hired anywhere else. And then we meet Kurt and Dave back at the apartment with Lewis, who Scott is staying with at this time because, of course, Scott has no money and all that fun stuff. Then we kind of bounce back over to Pym Industries, and we kind of find out that Hank Pym isn't working there anymore. We see him walk in. He's kind of, I guess, not been there for a very long time. His face is on the wall, and the security guy's like kind of giving him a hard time, and he's like points to the painting on the wall, and then the security guy guy was kind of embarrassed by not recognizing him. But we then meet Darren Cross, who is the current CEO, guy in charge of PIM Tech. And so then we also then meet Hope, who we find out is Hank Pym's daughter, but they're estranged. They don't really talk to each other because I guess there's some, of course, daddy issues going on there. And so Darren Cross has brought Hank in to showcase a new technology that he's working on that supposedly Hank had inferred about in the past, but never really shared that was a real thing. Because, of course, like we said earlier, Hank did not want this technology in the wrong hands. And so Darren is finally on pace to create what Hank has tried to avoid, and that is a shrinking technology in what they call the Yellow Jacket program. And with this program, Darren Cross wants to weaponize it and use it for military and stuff like that, which, of course, Hank is now seriously concerned about and doesn't want that to happen. Scott shows up at his daughter's birthday party, who he was not invited to because he's been in prison and can't provide for his daughter, and his ex-wife or girlfriend, I don't know if they were ever married, but she's now engaged to a cop who helped put Hank or Scott in prison, and so that's a real great storyline that will follow through here. And so then he's kicked out of the birthday party after he gives his daughter this interesting looking rabbit stuffed animal thing, which of course she loves because she loves her dad. Her dad is like her everything, and her mother and her fiance has no idea why that's the case, but the daughter loves Scott. So then we learn about, so Scott shows back up at the apartment, and the three guys are working on a new job with, of course, criminal activity, because that's what they do.
Well, also don't forget that Scott did learn from his ex-wife that because he is not paying child support, he's not going to be allowed to see his daughter again. So this is kind of what forces Scott's hand to go back into the criminal life with his really terrible, like they're the worst criminals on the planet, buddies. But
Scott wasn't really like a bad criminal. He like undermined a former boss or something for not paying employees and keeping money, and says it wasn't like a really bad crime or anything.
It was a little Robin Hoodish if you think about it.
Yeah. And so then they get this new job, and Scott's finally in on it after some convincing, and they have to go into a house and access this safe that they heard about that's in the guy's basement. So Scott is the one that goes into the house, and they see this old Titanic age safe or whatever, and of course, because of that, Scott's like, well, we can freeze it to open it. And so he freezes it, opens it up, and what's inside but a suit. And Scott's all like, well, this is like a motorcycle suit. Why is this thing in here? What good does this do? He was expecting to find money or, something more valuable that they could, that would help them. And then we kind of go back and forth to Darren Cross, and he's now experimenting the Yellow Jacket program on a sheep. We soon see that the sheep failed and looks like a booger, essentially. It's just this little like jello thing. And so of course Darren is getting frustrated with his failures. After Scott had broken into the safe, he did take the suit with him. He didn't just leave it there. He's like, well, I'm just going to take this anyways. And then we go back to the apartment, and Scott decides, well, I'm going to put the suit on and see what the heck this thing is. Well, he puts it on and sees that there's some buttons and stuff on it. And lo and behold, Scott shrinks. And Scott then he's in the bathroom. So he shrinks, and he's, of course, the size of an ant. And
he's in the bathtub.
Yep. And then Lewis comes in and turns the water on, and Scott's trying to yell to him to stop. And, of course, that's not working because nobody can hear him. And he goes down. He, gets out and goes down a crack, and he falls to this dance party room below them. And then he keeps falling, and he's going through pipes and stuff. He sees a rat in another room, and then he ends up outside on top of a car, and then somehow regains full size on top of this man's car. He's all freaked out. But at this point, too, Hank Pym is talking to Scott through the suit. And this is where we start to learn that Hank has an ulterior motive. He kind of let them break into the house to get this suit. And there's a lot of, stuff going on behind the scenes. Because Hank wants to get kind of undermine and stop Darren Cross from
just see what through Teetz was why Teetz out there staying at Jason Voorhees' crib at Camp Crystal Lake, and Blair Witch is probably a neighbor. And we're just getting him ready for Halloween Horror Nights. Tomorrow, or on stream on Wednesday, he's going to be sleeping in a tent outside. And Jordan and Sydney and Jordan's boyfriend are just going to go start kicking it randomly in the middle of the night. We got to toughen this kid up.
Oh, boy. I don't know about that.
Have you heard dueling banjos yet anywhere?
No.
Because you probably drove through Deliverance area.
Probably, yeah. There was some interesting areas we drove through. We stopped at a gas station because someone had to use the bathroom, and there was a cat with 25 kittens right next to the car. No, it wasn't me, but it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it was quite interesting. But anyways, back to Ant-Man, and so then we see that, of course, Hank says he'll be in touch with Scott. Scott then goes to try to return the suit to Hank's house because he doesn't want any part of this. He is like, this isn't for me. Returns the suit, but of course, then the police show up, and Scott's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to return the suit. Don't worry. And no, it's the fiance of his ex-wife that is the one there to arrest him, of course. So they take him to jail. Then Scott gets a call that his lawyer is there. Well, wasn't really his lawyer. It's Hank Pym. And Hank is explaining the situation that I've got, ulterior motive here. I set you up. I let you in my house to steal a suit. I want you to work with me and all that. So then Scott goes back to his cell, and here comes some ants delivering a real tiny little suit.
This is my favorite part of the entire movie, and maybe a top 5 moment in the entire cinematic universe, when all these little ants start marching in this teeny tiny little suit, and Scott knows exactly what is about to happen. Love it.
So
it's
yeah.
Great.
So the ants bring in the suit, they make it go full size, and then the ants start counting down because they're going to come see them before. Yep, they make the numbers in a formation, and Scott's like I don't know swimming. About this. But then he ends up putting the suit on, shrinks down, and of course breaks out of prison. The jail goes nuts because they're like, where did he go? Well, he's really right there. He's on top of a police car riding an ant because that's what he does when he's the size of the ant.
Like, look, I'm going to share my screen because I have the picture of it. It's so cool. Yeah, so there we go. Ants carrying in the little teeny tiny suit.
Yep.
Because fun ant fact, can't they carry like 100 times their body weight?
I think in the movie it said 50 times, but yeah, something like that.
All right, I trust they did their due diligence on the science part in this movie because it's basically like a documentary anyway. Okay, continue.
So then Scott wakes up at Hank Pym's house, and Hope is there staring at him. So he's kind of freaked out about that. He doesn't remember what exactly happened, how he got there. But in the end, he's there. Hope is there, which we're kind of confused about because she doesn't like her father. But we'll learn more about that in a bit. And then there's a bunch of ants all over the floor. And, of course, Scott's like, well, how the heck am I supposed to get out of this bed? Because there's ants everywhere. And then he goes to the kitchen, meets with Hank and Hope, and they kind of learn more about what's going on. We learn that Hank is able to control the ants through essentially an earpiece that communicates with them, sort of like a mind control thing going on. Basically do whatever he wants them to do. And they want to then, in turn, teach Scott how to do that so he can control the ants and help them with their job. Scott, of course, is still freaked out over everything, isn't totally on board, but we then learn that Darren Cross, who was brought in as sort of the protege of Hank Pym, that guy that would take over after Hank retired, well, Darren is the one that kind of pushed Hank out of Pymtech, and the deciding vote was Hope, his daughter.
And in true Marvel fashion, if you are a very intelligent person like a Stark or a Pym, you need to start vetting the people that you decide to leave things to way better than what you currently do, because we've seen 98% of the time oh my God. Yes, we'll get to that after we finish. But 98% of the time, who they choose to leave their livelihoods and their creations and all of their personal IP creation, that person sucks. And this is yet another case of it. And thank you, Jay Guitarza, for the great question. I'm just going to go ahead and share it real quick. Come back around to it once we finish discussing the movie. So just stick with us. We've got about 10 more minutes, and then we'll get to the commentary part. But thanks. If you guys also have questions about the movie or things you want us to talk about, please hit us up in the chat. All right, Teetz, keep going.
So then Darren. So then we go back to Darren is back at Pymtech, and we see him finally crack the code on a sheep. He has shrunk the sheep, size of an ant. He's all happy now. He's done it. He can finally move forward with Project Yellow Jacket. And Hope is at this point all against what Darren is doing. She knows why her father, wanted to keep this hidden. So she's willing to work with her father even though she still not all that fond of him at this point, but she wants to, of course, stop Darren. And the big thing is Hope wants to be the one that goes in the suit. She doesn't want it to be Scott. Scott is, just a nobody. She wants to be the one to kind of live on the family name and do the grand things that her father has done. But of course, Hank doesn't want that. He wants to protect his daughter because we learn that Hank's wife and Hope's mother was kind of lost with this technology. So he doesn't want the same to happen to his daughter after losing his wife.
She was the OG wasp.
Yes. And so then we get Scott's going through all his training in the Ant-Man suit. He's working on mind control with the ants. He's trying to jump through keyholes and doors, and he's trying to, punch Hope, but Hope punches back. That kind of stuff. And then because that's where we learned about the wife. Scott messes with the regulator in the suit, or is trying to mess with the regulator, and Hank Pym comes in and is like, don't touch that.
No!
If you mess with that, you could go, I forget the term now. You could go, I don't know. You go in the quantum realm, but you go, subatomic.
He's going to go subatomic.
Yep, and could be lost, then lost forever, like Hank's wife was. So then,
Janet.
So then we learn about why, because Hank had always told Hope that she died in a plane crash, her mother, but of course that wasn't true. She died as the Wasp in the suit, trying to save a bomb or whatever from detonating. And so then Scott, in a comedic moment, ruins their little father-daughter moment that they had going on, and they kind of, make up. So then the daddy issues are kind of resolved, between them.
Because as we learn, our Marvel women that have family issues, they talk them out and they get them done with. They just don't sit back and stew for like 60 years until they can use Pym particles and go back to the quantum realm and time travel back in time to figure out if my daddy really loved me right before my mom gave them to me, when I have a beatnik mustache and someone says I look like Mungo Jerry for the past 30 minutes. That's from Endgame.
Yeah, so then we have Scott goes on a mission, and they're thinking that it's just some old warehouse in the middle of nowhere. It'll be okay. Well, no, it's the Avengers facility. So things are a little crazy. Hank's all like, nope, get out of there. That's I don't know if I want to answer that question, but
we'll add that one to the queue. Thanks again for keep the questions coming, because we're almost to the commentary portion of the show. So keep the questions coming. We love to hear chat questions. Thank you guys so much. Thank you again, Jay Guitarza, for that really excellent, well thought out question. I can't wait to discuss that.
Yeah, so we're at the Avengers facility. Scott drops in, Ant-Man sized. Well, and here comes our good old friend, Sam Falcon. And he's like, yeah, I heard something was triggered. He's looking around. He's like, what the heck's going on? Well, then he sees this little tiny guy. He's freaked out. He's like, well, what the heck? Well, then Scott goes full size, tries to talk to him. He's like, yeah, I'm a big fan of you. I'm Ant-Man, whatever. Then that wasn't working, so
and they give off some real vibes. Like, yeah, sorry, man, the Avengers is totally full. Like, we're not taking any more applications. Yeah. This table is done. Maybe go sit by yourself for a little bit, but nah, man. Like, this is cool what you can do, this big little thing, but no, yeah. Maybe go see what DC Comics is doing, because there's no room for you here with the Avengers.
Yeah. So then he gets in a little battle with Sam. He gets in Sam's wings and messes those up. And Sam's all like, I don't know what to do. They kind of, Scott gets what they came for, gets out, and Sam finishes with, we can't let Cap find out about this. So
God forbid, Steve gets angry. Oh no.
So then we go back and we see Darren Cross has showed up at Hank Pym's house. Well, lo and behold, there's some plans on the table for what they got going on. They're unsure of what the heck's happening. And so then they have
Stop me if you've heard this before. the guy that you trust to take over your company is stealing your shit to make his own version, but it's bad. Where did that happen? Oh, yeah, Iron Man.
True. So then they use the ants to kind of roll away the plans so he doesn't see them, even though we learn that Darren already knows what the heck's going on. There's, we don't really have to try to hide it from him, but they do anyways. Darren calls Hope on the phone and says, we're gonna triple security, we're gonna close the vents, we're gonna do all this stuff. So then they kind of have to revamp their plan. At the same time, the cops learn of who Scott's lawyer actually was, because they're still looking for Scott. They don't know what happened to Scott. And they learn that it was Hank Pym, not some lawyer. So they do that. Scott's like, we're going to enter through a water main now, not the vents, because that's our only way into the building. And then they get to their big day. They're going to take it down, Pym Tech and their WASP program, or their Yellow Jacket program. And so Hank drives in his convertible and is greeted by the cops. They're trying to arrest him before he can get in. And then steals the cop car, and then they go chasing after him to get into the so then Hank can get to the building. And so then, of course, Darren Cross is there to greet Hank and all this. We learn that Darren's got everything he needs. Plans are moving forward. Hydra is on hand to buy and take the tech. They are going to use it. Darren's like, yeah, Hydra isn't what it used to be. They're okay. Yeah, not really. But so then Cross, explains that I know what you're up to, blah, blah, blah. Here comes Scott through their little tiny tunnel thing that he was supposed to take the Yellow Jacket suit away in. And
so can I take a quick 20? This is the first time we hear and see reference, because Cross wants to take the suits and sell them to Hydra, but also the 10 rings, which is the first time we really see the 10 rings referred to. And we won't pretty much see them again through the rest of, obviously we're done with phase 2. They won't really get mentioned at all in 3, but we're about to hear all about the 10 rings in phase 4 in just a matter of months in one of the newest movies. So that's the other thing in this evolving universe, everything keeps going. Nothing dies, even though, thank God, Iron Man finally did. Everything just keeps going and evolves. So, you heard about the 10 rings.
One of the big things that has already been talked about and keeps coming up is the whole quantum realm aspect, which was kind of introduced in this movie and then will be prevalent in future movies, and even then into Quantum Mania, the third sequel to this trilogy. We get a greater understanding of it in Infinity War and Endgame, but yeah. So Cross is, of course, getting his suit out. He's got everything planned. He's and then Cross is like, well, now that I got you here, I'm gonna kill you, because that was my plan. I'm trying to eliminate you, Hank. And so he, pulls out a gun on Hank. Well, then Hope pulls out a gun on Cross, and everybody's got guns on everybody. Scott breaks out of this chamber that the Yellow Jacket suit was in and gets full size. There's a battle scene kind of thing going on. Hank is shot, not dead, but shot. Scott then goes, because Darren flees. Hope goes after her father. Scott goes after Darren because they have to stop him because he's about to take off on a helicopter, and they don't want him to get away. Then inside the helicopter, because Scott gets up there and gets inside, starts creating chaos. Well, then Darren decides to put on the Yellow Jacket suit himself, and they go at it. They land in like somebody's pool or whatever. The Yellow Jacket / Darren goes into a bug zapper, so they think he's kind of, well, then the cops show up, and then Scott was arrested again. He's back in a police car. Well, then then they get a call that somebody has his daughter hostage, and we learn that Darren had got out of the bug zapper and is now after, because he knows that if he goes after Scott's daughter, that will draw Scott in. And so then there's a whole thing. Well, then Thomas the Tank Engine goes like triple, like life size in the front yard. There's a giant ant now crawling around because everything's enlarging, which again will become part later, as we'll see in other movies, the enlarging part. They daughter, then Scott.
So just keep in mind, before, when he got trapped in the bug zapper, this is what Scott was going to use to basically destroy the Yellow Jacket suit, was trapping him in the bug zapper and usually using the natural forces of the bug zapper to basically destroy the suit. And that's when his ex-wife's shitty fiance shows up, wrecks the party, because cops never show up when you actually need them. They just show up to like mess with a plan that was already working. And so that's when stops Lang from doing that. Lang gets tasered, and then thank you, brilliant cop Jim Paxton or whatever your name is. Now you got your soon-to-be stepdaughter kidnapped. Great job, buddy. Awesome.
Yep.
Can't wait to see how long it took you to fill out that paperwork. So the suit is the Yellow Jacket suit was slightly damaged by being in the bug zapper and different things that Scott Lang did to it. And so they shrink and grow and everything, but then they ultimately do. Well, I'll let you continue. Oh,
yeah. So then our next thing is
another great question. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question.
Scott is like, well, I've got to save my daughter. I've got to stop Cross. So what does he do? Well, he messes with the regulator, goes subatomic to stop him. He does stop Cross in this, but then of course Scott goes subatomic and into the quantum realm, and we think he's going to be lost forever. Well, lo and behold, somehow, some way, Scott finds that you can escape this quantum realm, and he gets through and gets out, and lo and behold, he saves the world essentially again, because that's what the Avengers do. They save the world. Scott and Hope then have a moment at the end because everything's normal and happy and good. Scott gets to see his daughter now. They have a pet giant ant. And the cop guy, Paxton, is kind of letting things slide with
typical
Scott
cop.
now.
He's the one that screwed it all up. And so what he's going to do, just because he's a good guy, he's a good cop, he's the one that put them in this entire situation, he's going to make it so Scott Lang doesn't have to serve any time. Gee, thanks, buddy. He was totally fine without your help the first time around.
Yep. Yeah. So then, and then we get our Stan Lee cameo right at the end. Stan Lee's a bartender.
They really start getting later and later as we go on with these movies.
Yeah. So we get our Stan Lee cameo. He's a bartender. That's about it there. Then we get the very end is Falcon is looking for Scott. And that's they kind of do a whole setup thing, just like Hank Pym did, plant something, Lewis and Dave and them, they're like, oh, look what we found. And because they're just oblivious to everything.
Like I said, they're not the best criminals on the planet.
No. Then we get 2 end credit scenes, not just one, but 2 in this movie. First one is we see Hank take Hope down to a secret part of the basement that she has never seen before. And he reveals what they were working on with her mother and a brand new Wasp suit that he then says, well, I guess it's time for you to take on this. And that's kind of where they end there. And then our second end credit scene, we see Falcon and Cap along with our friend Bucky Barnes.
Bucky!
And they're being awfully secretive about something going on, and that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah. So, because they're talking about something, they can't get in touch with Teetz's best friend, Tony Stark. Because the Accords prohibited him. So basically, y'all know the next movie is Civil War. And this is when the shit hits the fan. You can already feel it building up to this point anyway. And now we get a glimpse of what is really about to go down. And they can't get in touch with Tony Stark because the Accords prohibit it. And then Steve Rogers says they're on their own, but Sam says that he knows a guy. Gee, I wonder who that guy is. Oh, wait, I do know who that guy is. But we do know that Scott Lang finally does get invited to come sit at the Avengers table. They need him. Why? He doesn't know. He's ready just to go join forces. Little bit do we know that behind the scenes, a lot of shit is going down and there's a big fracture in the Avengers. We also know that kind of one of the reasons why Hank Pym takes Hope down and shows her the new Wasp suit is because after seeing Scott come back totally fine from the quantum realm, he kind of wonders if maybe it's possible his wife is still out there and she's not gone like he thought she might be. And so that kind of little aspect of hope, it gives him the opportunity to let his daughter be involved in this project. All right. It's a fun movie. It was actually pretty short, and I think it moves along really quickly. Yep. The storyline it's basically just the characters. You get to learn more about Pym particles and the quantum realm, which will ultimately become important down the line. You get to know more the status of Hydra without Hydra constantly being in your face like we saw in the Iron Man movies and the first Avengers. And you get to see kind of where the ranks are forming and who falls on what side, who's kind of acting as de facto Avengers, welcome wagon without having one of the faces of the franchise, so to speak, there. So what did you think about this movie?
I enjoyed it. I've never been a big Ant-Man fan. I don't know if I don't think this changed my opinion too much. He's still not one of my top characters, but I see where this, fits in the grand scheme of things.
So, I enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's been a while since I watched it. And when I watched all the MCU movies last summer, it was the first time I actually watched Ant-Man. And so I kind of appreciate it for being pretty light and not so, like there was a fight, but it wasn't as battle, explosion, Michael Bay heavy as a lot of these other movies tend to be. And while the story was there, I thought it was way more easy to digest the storyline and what was important and the things you should take away from it going forward. And I'm sure that has to be because it was one of the later movies released. So, they found that formula of what works in telling these origin stories. But, who doesn't love Paul Rudd? He's just great. He's ageless. We love him. And we'll start to see that the Pym storyline is even more important. And I think our timing couldn't have been better because so much of Marvel's Avengers campus at Disney's California Adventure is focused around the Pym project. We have all the food and the drinks and everything. So I already had Pym particles and everything that Hank creates on my mind before I went into watching this movie. And so that made it really, really fun. I think it's a nice dose of just kind of light-heartedness between Ultron is a lot. as far as story goes. And then next week, we're talking Civil War. And that is about as heavy as an Avenger, with the exception of Infinity War. Civil War is about as heavy a Marvel movie is going to get. What do you think? Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So it was nice to have just something a little and light, but that forwards, the storyline, introduces a couple of more really important characters, one to the backstory, one to the story going forward. Because like we say, Marvel movies are all about the characters and how they advance the storyline. So we had some really great questions. I'm going to fire these off to Teetz and get his takes. So first off, we had someone in the chat. I'd like to hear your thoughts about Ant-Man as a commentary on the inadequacies of our criminal justice system and America's reluctance to embrace a credible level of criminal justice reform. I have some thoughts, but we'll start. Teetz, what do you think?
I mean, it was not the first thing that came to mind while watching this movie. I don't know. We definitely saw that Paxton was a problematic figure in this film. They didn't do a whole lot to help anything. So I don't know. I can't say I've had many personal instances with police, but.
And I think to get to a little bit of the criminal justice reform portion of this question. So yeah, it's a commonly spoken fact that if you have a lot of money and have a really great lawyer, you're not going to get thrown in jail for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you know an inventor or someone that's like crazy science brain that can create an army of ants that can sneak a suit under jail cell bars to put you in so you can shrink it up, get in, and then shrink down so you can escape. Maybe this is something else you need to look into in addition to that Monopoly get out of jail free card. And I absolutely see where this commenter was going with that question. And yes, 100% is a commentary of the inadequacies, because everyone should be treated fairly and given due process. And you shouldn't just have one cop that may think you're trash just because his ex-wife has been spewing a bunch of nonsense. Get you locked in jail. Thank you for the question. That one was really great. Up next, it's more like a poll question. So we'll go with this one. I'm going to read this one out and start again with you, Teetz, and you just give me your feedback on this one. Ant-Man's uniform would be better with one of those vintage pajama butt flaps. True or false?
I'm gonna go true, considering that you had like this was like 1980s created suit, so it probably fits in. So yeah, I think that's a true statement.
Yeah, I think true too, because that suit does look really hard to put on, and then sometimes you're not a woman, but if you've ever worn a pantsuit or a romper, it's really a pain in the ass to take off to go to the restroom. And so I think this would probably help him in those kind of situations. So again, thanks for that really, really great question. If you've got questions, drop them in the chat. We are going to answer just a couple more. I have another one that is more of a hot take that I would like you to respond to. Teetz, when you have a second. Hot take. The movie is a propaganda piece funded by Big Ant to combat the home pesticide market. What do you think?
I mean, it's not out of the realm. I think, ants are valuable members of society, and this showcases their abilities.
Yeah, what we saw was ants, when they come together, they can really be forces of good. Did you know that ants could swim like that? They made a little ant boat. Yeah. I mean, I knew there were kinds of ants, and then there's the ones that like bite you and stuff like that, but they're for a good reason. And if you are a friend, not a foe, maybe they won't bite you. So Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stop, spraying for ants in my house. Even the sugar ones are trying to do me a favor by cleaning my counter so I don't have to. So you're right. Again, I think that's a really, really solid take. When you dive deeper into the social commentary and just what we're seeing in the world today, yeah, I do think that while it could be construed as a propaganda piece, I don't think it's out there to radicalize ants and to radicalize people who do love ants, but to bring the honest, open, true side of what ants do provide to our society. Thanks again for that really great question. Now, we did get a follow up. Are they valuable members of society and are they paying taxes? Well, that's ridiculous because they're getting handouts from a mutual aid faction like you or I because I spill a soda on the counter and I'm letting them come take the soda. It's mutual aid. And apparently we both have cash checks from Big Ant, which would be amazing.
That's what's
That's how
funding
I
all
got
my
these.
vacations.
You said the quiet part out loud, Teach. You're not supposed to say that. Okay, well, I just got these wonderful ball aluminum cups to save the planet. But Teets, yes, Teets is owned by Big Ant. Do you have no? So they're owned by Big Ant. Would you like to talk about maybe your top like 2 or 3 favorite ants of all time?
Flick from Bug's Life, he's up there. I think Ant-Man has to make the top 3 list. I don't know if there's a third ant.
Carpenter ant.
I do like. I
because
forget
they like build things.
the little ant in Bug's Life too. I forget the name. The little baby one.
Ada?
No, Ada's the woman, the female princess ant. There's a little baby
notice
one.
how she does. Notice how the woman doesn't make the top 3 list. Okay.
She's
all right.
She's kind of problematic, but
You're problematic. So Teets is owned by Big Ant. Here, I'm just gonna go ahead and fix your name real quick. Any more thoughts on this movie, Teets?
no, I don't think so. Obviously, it was another introduction type movie. We're learning a lot about the character, background, how he fits in the whole story. So
what are you looking forward to when we watch Civil War next week?
I think it's another one of those big kind of tie-in movies. It's Captain America's movie, but like everybody's in it. So you're not, it's kind of like an Avengers style movie that I think we get, obviously we see the clash between the two sides and we see how things are going to set up for the future and where we'll get with the whole Infinity War saga.
Yeah, so basically, without giving anything away, we know. Listen, we just got to get to Civil War. Because after that, it just becomes a snowball that you cannot stop into awesomeness. So, spinning it forward, next week we will be back 8:00. Teets, will you be back in Central Time? Or are you still going to be on the West Coast?
No, Monday I will be back in Central Time. So I'll be there for one Monday. Then the following Monday I will be gone again. So
you're going to be gone for Spider-Man Homecoming.
Correct.
Okay. I will find someone to host Spider-Man Homecoming. Even though you're going to be at Universal, which has Spider-Man.
That is true.
Do you fly back on Tuesday?
Nope, Monday the 5th, right? Monday, or what? Or Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Whatever the 5th is, I come back.
July 4th is a Sunday. So yeah, you fly back.
Yep.
So I will find someone to host Spider-Man Homecoming with me. Like I said, this is the last movie of Phase 2. Shit starts getting real next week when we start with Civil War. And all of my favorite movies, other than Captain Marvel, are about to happen. And that includes Black Panther, Ragnarok, and then we're going to get into the Infinity Saga. I'm not even going to mention this guy's top 3 ants list. It's terrible.
I mean, Aunt Viv, she's pretty good.
So, Mr. Worldwide has given us his top 3 ant list. Number 1 is Adamant. Number 2 is Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince. And number 3 is the Red Ants. I'm guessing it's a band because they're spelled with a U. So it's aunts, not ants. Anyway, thank you guys so much. If you're watching on Twitch, hit that purple subscribe button. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please hit that red subscribe button and the bell notifications. We are doing a countdown, and you're going to be hearing more starting on Wednesday about our plans in July. We are doing a YouTube exclusive subscribe-a-thon, complete with giveaways. We are trying to get our subscriber numbers up, and you never know what Aunt Jemima, you know what? I'm just going to block you. Just going to block you. He got me that time. We're going to, in July, it's Christmas in July, and we're going to be doing tons of giveaways on our social media and here on exclusively on YouTube as part of a subscribe-a-thon. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube. And if we can do that, there is a big, massive giveaway happening at the end of the month. So we'll be telling you more about that on Wednesday when Courtney is back with me here on stream for Wind Down Wednesday. But from Teetz, who is owned by a big ant, and me, Keels, your mutual aid ant friend, thank you guys for joining us on Marvel Monday. We will see you next week with Captain America Civil War, and I'll see you back here, same time, same place on Wednesday for Wind Down Wednesday. We'll see